clap it around. Morning, guys. So this kind of works pretty perfectly because a lot of my speech or talk or presentation or words coming at you into your ears is actually about my life, and so I almost don't feel like I'm going to introduce myself at all. What I can say about myself right now is I'm probably a pretty good walking example of chaos and collaboration. I'm in the middle of a project, and when I was approached by CreativeMornings to come do a talk here, my first feeling was, yes, I should do this. My next was, but geez, I'm so busy, I'm not going to be able to do a talk. And I did a talk yesterday at Residency High School, and I'm doing this project in Muizenberg. And I don't know, when I heard the theme, actually, when I read the theme was chaos, I was just like, well, no matter what, actually, surely this has got to go well, because if it starts off as a mess, that's great. That's the point, actually. It's like, I feel like we're in a society that puts too much stress on creating order and not enough seeing of the benefits of chaos. And actually, in doing some research, I realized that like everything is chaotic. We're constantly moving. I think when you want to try to create order or structure, there's some kind of line that wants to be drawn, a box. I believe that we're all probably pretty creative people sitting in this room, and I know boxes are something we don't really like unless we can turn it into a house or like a dog house. So before we start, you will notice that there are these paper plates on your seats. If you've used them to eat, that's absolutely fine. That is kind of their purpose. Today, fortunately, we're going to turn them into something else. Before we start this, I just want to see if you guys can all quickly close your eyes. And I think basically what I intend here is to connect us a little bit. I believe in conscious webs, essentially, and I feel there is chaos in this room, and we come into these spaces and there's chaos, and this one's doing this, and this one's late, and this one's actually got to go to a meeting later. So I want everyone to just take a deep breath in with me. And then out. And then in. And then out. Okay. I want you to keep your eyes closed, and I want you to feel what you're feeling inside. I know I was also going to make reference to these tags. Some of you are potentially chaos creators or benefit from the joys of chaos. Some of you are order creators, benefit from the order of chaos. What I would like to do, or invite you to do, is to think how chaos, if you chose chaos or order, how does that actually look if you had to put a pen or a mark-making tool onto your plate? How would that look? Just feel into it. It might be a texture, it might be a pattern, it might be a color, it might just be the pen that you have in your pocket, and that is what you have. And when you open your eyes, I would like you to draw that thing on your plate. Draw that feeling. Try to express it. It could be a word. It could be anything. Just take whatever comes to mind first. Don't think about it too much. These things are not precious. They're paper plates. And basically, throughout this talk, what I will be doing is... Sorry, if you don't have a paper plate, I do have more, and I've also got some cookies. Which I would love to get back if you...
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anyone else need a paper plate or a cookie? Paper plate.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. I know some of you also love to write in journals and books. I'm a big fan of that, so let this thing be your journal or book. Also, if you don't feel like writing, you can just stare at me and do something weird. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, actually. Just make marks. And what are we doing? During my talk, I am going to ask you to pass your plate in a certain direction. And in that way, we are going to intend to create some kind of order from this chaos on these plates. So, yeah, I want you to know that these things aren't precious. There is a certain level of anonymity involved, which is the beauty of collaboration. Okay, so my name is Chris Auret. Christopher Dirk Auret is my full name, actually. I like to call myself an artist, and then it became later, a few years later, an artist and a maker, and then lately I've been going by the name of an artist, maker, and activator. And yeah, I'm very grateful to be here in this space, talking to you guys, sharing with you my life. I added the word collaboration to chaos because I feel like they work actually quite closely hand in hand. So my intention today is to share my experience of these themes in relation to my own life. I want you to know that I can only speak on behalf of my own personal life as a white male brought up in South Africa, having certain privilege. And what I would like you to do is take whatever I share and use it as a reflection into your own life. Try not compare. For example, I know I'm in a room that might involve a few businessmen and women, or maybe there's a plumber in the space, or creatives. I'm not saying that everyone has to be an artist or a visual artist. I believe that we're all artists of our own creating spaces. So, yeah, whatever I say is a reflection for you to take on. So that's what I offer to you today, and hopefully some kind of inspiration, and to share your experience in your own particular way. The plates are one of them. So feel free to also take things that come out of my mouth and put them on the plate if you don't feel like writing anything of your own. One disclaimer, which I thought was really good, that I saw in a talk on one of the other chaos topics, is I am no professional. This is not something I've studied. I have a very childlike approach to everything that I do, actually. I almost work backwards in that way. I experiment and I play and I kick something, or I push it, or I taste it, and then I'm like, okay, no, that didn't really work out. And I might backtrack and step forward again. So I want you to know that everything I speak about is from my own personal experience. It's not, in some ways it's quite naive, and I'm aware of that, actually. So just quickly, a few words that are related to these things, because it's good to be on the same page. Chaos. Disorder, disarray, confusion, mayhem, madness, mess, and anarchy. Not very nice words, if you work with the scale of nice and not so nice. Order, sequence, arrangement, system, structure, grouping, harmony. Nice. Collaboration, cooperation, alliance, partnership, teamwork, colluding, and conspiring. So interesting that there's also these negative and positive aspects to collaboration. And then solo, independent, unattended, lonely, solitary, single-handed, all alone. So my story today is going to take you through my journey of my life, and when I have experienced chaos or order, or collaboration or solitary confinement, and their relation to one another. I moved to Cape Town when I was 11, and I went to Rondebosch Boys Primary School and high school. I hope that's okay that I say that, because it's definitely an example of order. And I feel like more and more in my life, I realize that I am unlearning certain structures that were put into place in that space. So as much as I loved the time then and there, I'm definitely rewiring myself. It's certain things like your desk structure, lines. I had to have a haircut. I couldn't, have hair over my ears. The The one beauty of this was I did have an amazing design teacher. I don't know if you know him, Andrew Putter, and he definitely created a classroom that wasn't structured on order. In fact, there was paper and mess on the floor. You were invited to write on the desks. You could do whatever you want. I had a certain level of anarchy in the room, and then every now and then we'd create a quick sweep of order. It's definitely a valuable trait. One thing I did love in high school and school and throughout my life, and I can see in my reflection, even through this talk that I had to go through, is I love collaboration. And it started with sport. I loved rugby. I loved cricket. I was always like a team leader. It was an interesting time in high school where I had to make quite a big decision. It was probably like my first big decision I ever made, and that was to stop playing high school in matric. I was like a first-team rugby player at one stage. And I stopped playing rugby in matric to pursue art and design more fully. I realized I was never going to do rugby after matric. It was kind of like wasting my time, and first-team rugby is like 6 days a week. And I'm definitely the frailest flank that ever played first-team rugby. So I quit, and I started taking more my focus towards art and design. When it came to leaving high school, I had two options. I could either go to art school, something like Michaelis. That was actually what I wanted to do, as my heart was kind of saying go that direction. I guess in that space, there's a certain level of chaos. I also feel it's often more independent, and I don't know, I can, again, speak from a naive space where I feel like an artist's journey is very often internal, inward, and introspective, very often solo. The other option for me was to go into advertising, and I had a lot of friends and family being like, go advertising, you'll make lots of money. There's a certain level of order and structure. There's a 9 to 5. There's a certain level of trust that things will work. And it's often collaborative. So what I think happened to me there was I was fearful. I definitely let fear get the better of me. I let people tell me that I would never make it as an artist. And so I avoided that route. I also avoided the chaos. And I went into advertising, something where my friends were. And something that actually I did see the value in because it was more collaborative. It was just a weird random project. I just slipped into here. One thing I did keep doing was collaboration. On the side of my advertising jobs, this was a painting that I did with my friend Daniel Ting-Chong, and he did the stuff in the middle, and I did the two female figures on the right and the left. And I think I started to see how when you combine two different views, aspects, perspectives, a certain kind of magic starts to happen, more so than someone just giving their interpretation of something. When it came to when it came to graduation, I finished top of my class. It was pretty cool. I got a job straight away at quite a big agency doing print ads, TV ads, radio ads. I didn't take a gap year, and I went straight from matric to studying and then into my job. And it was interesting. All of my design school stuff, all of my freedom I felt like it was taken away from me a little bit, and all of a sudden all my creativity was definitely going a certain direction where I was kind of selling products that I didn't necessarily believe in, and spent a lot of time in front of a computer. And I had this need. I think I was also surrounded by and collaborating with people that I wasn't 100% resonating with energetically, even. So there was this need for me to actually go solo, and I went traveling. Traveling is beautiful chaos. You can lose your passport and the world's about to end. So you never know what's going to happen, who you're going to bump into on the train on your way to a museum. So there's a certain level of chaos that is embraced in traveling, actually, which I thought was quite a nice example. So I went traveling. I was 22 years old. I spent 3 months in London, and I started to blog. I can see in reflection of my journey when I went on my solo journeys, there was always a sharing aspect. I've definitely been someone that I go out and I experience something, and then I have to share it. I have to let people know, because actually in doing so, it's kind of another form of collaborating where I receive information from people. It's like, if I tell people I went to this museum, the next message might come, oh, if you enjoyed that, you need to go to this museum. That's a collaboration. So even on my solo journeys, I shared my solo journeys, and in doing so, I feel like I collaborated. I did 3 months in London, and I came back and I signed up on LinkedIn because I needed to get a job. And I got a job almost a week later, which is pretty cool. And it was a digital marketing agency. And I spent time designing websites now. And I did online campaigns, little pop-up adverts that no one really looks at. And I had some cool creative stuff with the Mix-It, which was pretty cool. So, everyone swap plates. Yeah, pass your plate to your right. Let's say pass your plate to your right. For those on the ends, just do like a funny swap where you kind of just move them around a little bit until you have a new plate. Doesn't matter. Thank you. Yeah, pass your plate to your right. And basically what I want you to do when you do this is look at the plate, see what stands out to you, see what draws your attention. Don't ask necessarily why. Let yourself freely express whatever comes out. Again, it can be a mark, it can be a word. The beauty of collaboration, or this thing that I see as a good way to look at it, is how do you take your gift, your own personal gift, whether it's writing or drawing or photography, and how do you enhance someone else's gift? That's like the way that you have to collaborate. Even in a musical jam, if you think of a musical jam, how do if I'm in a group of 10 people and I want to I'm playing guitar, if the 9 other people in the room played in a way that made me sound better, I have 9 people trying to make me sound better, as opposed to myself trying to sound really good and 9 other people trying to sound really good. That's going to be chaos. So while I had my 9 to 5, I started venturing out for other ways of working and being, and I found this amazing friend-run studio called Everybody Love Everybody. Boom, pure collaboration. It's the best. It was a place just behind Assembly in Canterbury Street. We had this beautiful open space for creating. I started painting on the side of my job. This is me looking for a seat for my desk. Again, collaboration. I wasn't afraid to ask for things and see how it worked. It was during this time that I had my job and this art studio that I had a stomach operation. Bang, chaos, fuck, okay. Ended up in hospital. I was in hospital for a month and a half. I had a large piece of my intestine taken out and things sewn back together. And it was a beautiful gift of introspection and perspective. And I decided to quit my job and follow a dream, which was to become an artist. Yeah, it was a great reason. I see some laughing going on there. So basically what I did, this was one of my first paintings that I sold. And actually when I further reflected, my painting style is very much about chaos. My process is very often just get color and form and things onto a canvas and see then what comes out of it. So kind of what you're doing over here on these plates, which you can pass again. You can pass your plate. So I started painting. I sold 1 or 2 paintings. These are some paintings. I really loved what I loved so much about the studio was collaboration. Even though we were in our own departments, there was different people. There were the photographers, musicians, all sorts of people collaborating in the same space. I'm gonna skip through some quick slides here. I did still do some like sideline work. I then went traveling in order to make money specifically. I went on a boat. I went to the Caribbean and Spain, and I worked on a yacht for some time, and basically saved up money for a year to be able to come back and take myself seriously as an artist and not have to also worry about selling art in order to create it, because I don't think that's a very good space to be in. What I came back to do was, it allowed me a certain freedom in creating. I took part in a number of group shows, again, collaboration, more so than anything. I also did commissions more so than my own paintings. But there was this need to make a solo exhibition. That's like, again, what artists have to do. You have to have an artist. And to be an artist, you must have a solo exhibition. So I went that route. I went very introspective. This is my room, very much chaos. There's just paintings and glasses and cats and big bed, and it was a beautiful, cool room. And within all of this chaos, I had to distill things into something that harmonically would come out expressively, and it ended up in this exhibition, which had 3 parts. The first one was very much my leaving of the advertising world. I was still working with images and text, but kind of just trying to express lessons that I'd learned over my time on this planet and leaving. It then went into a more painted space where I got into energy. Again, you can see my brushwork is very much chaotic and trying to find harmony in the chaos, I feel. And then this went even further into abstract pieces. So while I was painting the previous slide of paintings, I started collecting the peels of paint that I peeled off my palette. And not knowing why, again, not questioning why am I making this mark, why am I doing it. And at some stage, 2 months later, I decided to actually take all these pieces of paint out and see what they looked like. And I say that I consciously let my subconscious take over. And I've made all these weird layouts. Each one's about this size. And I became an abstract artist. I had this exhibition, solo exhibition. I'm not going to lie, I was a bit disappointed. I realized that I wasn't necessarily speaking to everyone I wanted to speak to. There's definitely people that go to galleries, drink wine. I'm definitely a fan of speaking to the man on the street, whether it's this high or this old. So I started becoming interested in painting murals and doing art in the public space. This is my first mural that I ever painted, again in collaboration with a few friends. My friend Scubalisto, I painted the old man in the hat. It took me like 7 days to paint that painting. I don't know why it took so long. And we had a number of different artists collaborate. Myself and Scum came up with this concept, and it wasn't a comfortable experience. Like, I think you need to know that chaos is not comfortable, as well as collaboration. It's not very comfortable in the beginning. I feel there's always a turning point where things like unravel, and then the energy is amazing. But it's quite a frustrating space to be in the beginning. And actually, if I look at all my murals that I've painted, they've all had an element of collaboration, whether it's a brief from a client or a story or someone else, where I literally feel I am more of a conduit just to tell the story or share something that is going on. Definitely the collaborative element, when I started painting specifically, and I think it's something I want to move back towards, because I think I started collaborative, and then there was this one to be solo again has come in, and now I'm moving back towards this collaborative space. So this was a solo piece that I did of Nelson Mandela on the day that he died. I ended up putting up a Facebook status that asked for paint and a wall, and I managed to find paint and a wall. But I really expected so many people to come out and help me paint this thing, and it was just myself in the wind, painting in Cell Street. It was quite a sad moment. It was beautiful, but sad. And I realized, I think, in that space that I was like, I don't know, it doesn't feel nice doing that. I was collaborating with Madiba, but he wasn't there. He also blew away in the wind. It was like this A4 piece of paper that blew away, and I was like, oh, now I have to make the rest up. So I started looking into murals that involved more collaboration. I was invited to do a mural as part of the Greater Tygerberg Partnership, and it was a space in Parow. I was one of 4 or 5 artists, and the mural had to celebrate diversity. And for me, when I went to see the site, it was such the metaphor of diversity was just in the people and the traffic going through the space. So I do this very often, where I try and engage with people on the streets. I have conversation with them. I ask them if I'm can please take their picture, and I tell them the story behind where it's going and how it's going, and there's no pressure to do anything. This is merely if you want to do this, you're welcome to do this kind of thing. That was the piece that I painted, a diversity. These are some of the other artists, and again, I collaborated with these artists. Even though we didn't work on the same wall, we're part of the same project. And you can do more when you collaborate. It makes so much sense. This is a resistance project with Ralph Zimmerman. He does these paste-ups of these hands. It was a mural that we did in Manenberg to raise awareness of gang violence and the fact that children are very much at the forefront of these marches, these protests against gang violence. This is a piece that I did for Alice Phoebe Lou, who asked for collaborators to create an interpretation of a track or for an album. Mine came in the form of this paste-up, which didn't last too long, under Batenkant Bridge. This is Surfstall Africa. This is in Muizenberg, where I currently reside. There was like a period of my life just after my exhibition where I was a little bit down, actually, and I didn't really feel like painting my stuff. I didn't feel like painting my personal stuff. And I went traveling the west coast of South Africa, and basically what I did was, for food and accommodation, I painted murals. And it was a beautiful way for me to step my ego aside and just paint something that made someone really happy and actually uplifted spaces. And this is now where I'm more interested in doing, actually. So I moved away from a style. Even this one at the bottom, it's like, no one would say, oh, that's one of Chris's paintings. But I'm so proud of this painting. It did such amazing stuff for the space, and it was so nice to paint because I wasn't thinking again. This is a campaign I went over to the Netherlands to paint, which celebrated different people at sports clubs around the Netherlands, ranging from a Down syndrome man who's a deputy manager of a sports club to two women in a kitchen at a tennis club. This was a piece that I did in collaboration with Sasol in Johannesburg. And I love briefs, I love challenges. Brainstorming is literally my favorite game. And so that's the beauty of, I love chaos because it's like a puzzle. It's like, okay, I got chaos, epic. If I can make this into something harmonious, it feels so good. This is Gwen. This is a job I recently just got back from Miami, doing painting at a hotel in Miami, which has funded my next project that I will speak to you a little bit about. I've also just been collaborating with friends. That's Alice Phoebe Lou's album cover. Bryn is another band. I painted their album cover. I've been working with Jeremy Loop since he started out. Did his logo and all of his EP covers and his album covers. And then recently my friends of the Steezies, snorting lines of turmeric as they do. In collaboration. Chaos. Another thing I did in 2016, which was another key metaphor. You can swap your plates, by the way. Do that one more time. Another thing I did in 2016, through pure frustration, out of all the chaos that's happening in the world, I felt a need to try to get out and do things. And I had saved a bit of money through traveling. And I stumbled upon a piece of land. I know land is a very controversial topic in South Africa at the moment, and I've become to know this very well in my recent time. But basically, I found this piece of land in the garden route, which was going to be for sale. And I had this crazy idea to run a crowdfunding campaign to raise 1 million rand to buy a piece of land and to start a creative retreat and to reforest the land. It was on the edge of this indigenous forest. I have since learned a lot, but what I want to show you quickly is the power of collaboration and people kind of networking together. It was called 1,000 Prints, No Footprints. These are some of our friends at the bottom there that were involved. And basically, I did an online campaign, and the rewards for any kind of donation were prints of my own art and photographs that I'd taken from my travels and around the world. And then if you were an artist or a visual maker of some kind, I asked you to submit something, and I created an online gallery of collaborators. And in this way, it broadened this network. It was like we all kind of helped each other out. And yeah, we managed to raise R1 million in 2 months, which is pretty crazy. It happened in all sorts of crazy ways. We had people coming on board with more like some kind of investment, or that they believed in the vision and they had saved up a little bit more than just a small donation. I think publicly we raised about 260,000 Rand though, which was pretty epic. And yeah, it was just like, wow. If I was thinking of, and I think linked to that vision is some kind of community and a collaborative space. It's definitely what I'm interested in creating. And it was just such a beautiful venture towards that project to actually happen in that way, where everyone actually funded it. I couldn't do it by myself. That was the gallery. We did it at the Muti Gallery in Gardens. Another project more so this year, linked to that land project, is I have a friend called August. He's standing on top of that structure. And he built a huge structure at Africa Burn last year, and he had lots of leftover material. On our side, at the land, I was quite intent on building a community structure first. Before I build my house, or before you build your house, we have to build a house that can house people, volunteers, and anyone that's interested in our project. We sat around a campfire one day on the land, and we had this idea. He wanted to build something at Africa Burn, and I was like, well, why don't we build a community longhouse at Africa Burn, use the energy of Africa Burn, because it does drive collaboration. I know there's a lot of facets to the burn that are not quite aligned with how I work, but this was one of them. It was like it was a way to generate people to come together. How am I doing on time? And so we built this community longhouse, which is now sitting in pieces on the land, and is being hopefully rebuilt in December. I'm trying to make some more funds to make that happen. But it was a beautiful experience. It was like a sanctuary. It was in a cacophony of like LED lights and loud noises. We were a fire and candles, and we had food always, and people brought food to the table. It wasn't like we always supplied our own food. It was a beautiful metaphor for collaboration again within a lot of chaos. So that brings me to my current situation. And basically, I'm doing an art residency in a place called the Imaginarium in Muizenberg. I've been there since July. It was meant to be a 14-week residency. However, I did leave for 3 weeks to go paint murals in Miami, and the beauty of that is it actually funded the space for me to be in and allowed for complete creative freedom to explore and experiment. So, To We From Me is an immersive art, music, movement, film, and poetry experience by myself in collaboration with Jano Romano and the growing Muizenberg community. During this period, the intention has been an experiment to explore co-creation, freedom of expression, acceptance, and integrity in the spaces between the me's and the we's. With these values at heart, we open the doors for the curious to step inside and get involved. The invitation has been to participate mindfully in co-creating art, sound, movement, meditation, and an inspiration hub where we can come together to commune in open awareness. This is what it looks like when I started this project. This is a brainstorm process. This is like, it's about that big. And this process is so part of my life. It's always a mess. It's like a beautiful mess. I love it. It's like you take a collage of everything in a magazine and you try to piece it into something harmonious. That's what I've been doing in the beginning, and it actually ends. It ends in that. That's what it ends in. Quite amazing. Exploring things like your ethos. What is your ethos of a space? I want to bring your attention to the purple people. In our logo that I've created, there's a red W, which is in some ways, it kind of has a more feminine energy to it. There's a blue, masculine, kind of more, it's like more phallic, I suppose. And then there's this thread, the purple line, which I've called the purple people. And these are the people that already we wanted to collaborate with. I think at least 60% of those people we did end up collaborating with too. So my intention was to collaborate. It wasn't so much about creating a solo exhibition even though in the beginning I've actually had a certain level of like, I want to still show my art, I've completely lost that in this process. It's been purely a collaborative space. So the intention has been to explore, to co-create, freedom of expression. One quick example is the facade of the Imaginarium. This is what it looks like at night. I stuck up all this tissue paper the one night because we didn't have curtains and I had lots of tissue paper and I didn't want people to see what was going on inside. In doing so, I realized, wow, I created quite a cool grid. That's pretty nice. I could do something with this grid. I had people around for dinner, it's like 6 or 7 people, and I spoke them through what I was trying to do with this Imaginarium space on a conversational level. And then afterwards, I drew up the grid, and I said, we're going to pass this book around. And in the process, all you have to do is write one word in any of the blocks, actually. That's how we'll start. One word and pass the book on. One word, pass the book on. And we ended up with this sentence, which I painted on the wall the next day. And a lot of people struggled to read this. It's a very chaotic thing. It actually went viral on Reddit because someone was like, I don't understand. But I'll read it to you quick. Hello. This is your normal dose of what is true space. Everybody has one. The Imaginarium, a place dedicated to the imagination. That's a very small one. Free exploration rules. Come feel alive from the inside art. Seek, love, and inquire now. Seek, love, and inquire here. Dream now. This was the Reddit post. Give up. That's what they said. It went like 12,000 people saw this thing, and I had messages coming from all over the world being like, what is this place? I don't understand. But this is such a cool reflection of how we don't like chaos. We're so used to structure. Even because there were lines, they were like, oh, this is so structured. But then like, what? So I thought it was pretty funny. And it was so hard for me not to like try to write to all these people and be like, look, you don't understand. I embraced chaos. You can't please everybody. This is what the Imaginarium looks now. It has a calendar outside. I realized that there's 7 lines, and we've been running so many events. How could I best communicate an event, and what day and where? Yeah, you can see. I think you can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So now there's a calendar outside. Different methods of engagement to create these spaces of collaboration and to see if we can harness it. We had art, sound, and movement workshops geared around co-creation and experimentation with chance. So very much like starting with chance. Open music jams, which blurred the lines between performer and audience. Again, this is kind of one of those tools. And then collaborative into immediate community. So actually we reached out to the community of Musenberg to see what was going on. And we collaborated with the Musenberg Festival. And I moved into Musenberg in July, and I'm like one of the leading figures in the Musenberg Festival, which I honestly believe is probably the best form of chaos and then collaboration. If you have a chance to come check it out, it's on the 1st to the 14th of October. So on these, we have this Open Says We event, where we have a live art table where you can create and collaborate art. These things are lying around and you can just pick up someone else's piece and work on it. This is one of a collaborative piece that was, I think, like 3 or 4 people, and no one knows who. There's also a beauty in the anonymity of it again. There's like the lack of pressure involved in that anonymity. So I quickly want to show you, it's a 2-minute video of what one of these, I think this was the first Sunday. This is the preparing for the Sunday. So we usually start these Sundays with some kind of movement, guided by Yana. From 11 till 12, we do like an intuitive yoga experience where I do live sound, which is very much in tune with the space. It's like if Yana does something, I need to be able to listen and weave in something into it. So if someone coughs, I literally might play an extra beat in the drum. Or if someone is looking a bit anxious, I might just turn the music down and actually play the singing bowl for a while. So it's very like we are in a chaotic space, and it's about creating some kind of harmony within it. And then the middle of the day onwards, we have a space that opens the floor to people doing workshops. The stage is open. That's my friend Matt Popel of Astrofunk and my friend Kola, just freely collaborating on sound. It's my favorite kind of sound. I don't really like anything too structured. And it's alive. It's like so alive, man. Even the mess. I love the mess because when it comes into being, like harmony, there's something about it that you appreciate even more. So, yeah. Also, the collaborations have been happening from like 6-year-olds, 4-year-olds, all the way up to old people. Yeah, it's been a beautiful, beautiful time. So that's, let me just. It's my friend Flo, Yana playing the piano, and Sherman playing the marimba. So that's been Tui from me. We also had a clay workshop, a clay and movement workshop, where we collaborated in creating, instead of these plates, we had one person make a clay piece, another person make a clay piece, and then try to join them together. And then this ended up in a collaborative poem, which says, destruction, there's one line each. Destruction hands me a chance to drown, to struggle, to see the beauty in time. An ocean, seeing light, nothing off my feet. I am Space Owl. These are some of the events that we ran. We did a weaving workshop collage and weaving workshop. The clay one was on Heritage Day, which was inviting people to work on the process of going back in time. We have meditation and Ashtanga yoga on Tuesdays and Thursdays every morning. And we also had an amazing djembe workshop, learning the rhythm of djembe. Basically, I was almost going to say like there was a need for reflection. I want to invite you guys to feel. Maybe I'll go first. I'll go first. You can see I'm chaos. These are the results that I've found. So I think if the intention was an exploration and if the intention was some kind of experiment, obviously there has to be a result. And this is where I think I can hopefully give you some kind of thing to walk away with. So communication, specifically listening, is key to collaborative environments. Like I said with the jamming experience, if I'm just banging away on my drum or my guitar and I'm not listening to what's going on in the room, I can't expect harmony. Communication is key. Knowing when to set the ego aside, it's probably as soon as you walk in the door, actually. To collaborate actually means to somewhat compromise and to see the greater picture. And it might take a longer time to get somewhere, but it's the way it works. Anonymity helps in that space of setting the ego aside. You no longer have to take a claim for making something. Asking for help is a skill. This is something I'm definitely personally working on. I take on a lot myself. I'm quite tired right now. I've been doing like all sorts of crazy things, and our big exhibition of all of the stuff that we've created is on Friday next week, and I'll be making some videos for the festival. And so asking for help is definitely a skill I'm definitely learning. Collective visionaries. I believe in some ways, if I go deep, we've had Jesus and Buddha and all of these amazing characters that have been somewhat isolated visionaries. I think, in my optimistic view, that we actually all carry that within ourselves. And it's no longer, I think we live in a world that no longer needs one person to say, this is the way things have to be. It's actually one person saying, okay, let me listen to what do you guys think it is? And in that way we can move forward. So I believe that we no longer have to rely on one person to redefine where we're going. It's a matter of us all coming together and doing that. In doing so, it's very important to understand your role. Each individual fractal plays such an important role, whether you're the tea or coffee maker, or the person that is creating the media, or you're holding the vision. And then second to that is the importance of these roles are understood that they're all equal. I can't actually live without having a sip of coffee, and so this person is very important. you know? So that's been a big one. And just like knowing, okay, I can't. Sometimes, very often, you have people in collaborative spaces that want to do something. It's for a specific reason that has to be understood before you can actually move forward. So understanding the self in relation to others is important. It allows for shared responsibility, something I've touched on. Shared accountability in chaos. Very often I get like, I run away with things a little bit in my mind, and it takes someone else to pull me back in. My friend Yana has been that person for me in this amazing, beautiful process. I almost want to say yes to everything very often, and someone in the space helps to have you like just kind of come back to yourself and make sure you're back to your vision. Fear, judgment, and the ego are the biggest challenges. So is this gonna look nice? Is it gonna sound nice? My personal reach is quite small still. I think I've been trying to invite and create an all-inclusive space, but I'm definitely learning that to do so means to really get out of my comfort zone. So I'm in that process of learning how best to do that. And it is a process. I think as soon as we can realize that like creating harmony from chaos is actually a process, it's not a destination. Once you even get to the next point, it's just the next point in another journey, you know? So I've come to terms with that. It's just a process. And that process is very often, for me, express, do something, create an action, and then step back and listen and observe. What did my action do? And then it's a matter of repeating that process. It's literally working in waves. As soon as you're just expressing, you're not listening. As soon as you're not listening, you're not doing. So, as soon as you're just listening, you're not doing. You have to be open to failure. Big. In collaboration, in experimentation. And I put failure in inverted commas there because even failure in any experiment is not a failure, it's a result. It's like, at least you know that didn't work. That's a positive. Chaos enforces engagement. I thought of the story of Humpty Dumpty actually yesterday. I was like, Humpty Dumpty fell off this wall, smashed into lots of pieces. The king didn't put him back together by himself. It would have been quite a job, first of all, because he didn't know what the butt of the Humpty Dumpty looked like. Didn't know what his hairstyle was. He got all the king's horses. Amazing. Fucking great collaboration. Let's collaborate the horses in here. And all the king's men. I'm sure there were some women in there as well. And put them back together again. I think that was such a cool metaphor for actually, forced engagement, people coming together. And the last thing is I still have a lot to learn. Like, I think what I realize is there's loads of courses that I can do that talk about these things. So my next year, I think, is definitely going to be more structured again in terms of going to some courses and workshops, hearing what other people have to express on this topic. And it's something I'm definitely going fully into. So, yeah, I have more to learn. So that brings me back to these plates. If there's anyone that wants to mention something, let's say two people that can answer one of these questions, that in this process of passing the plate around, I don't know, even if it's a comment, you can say, were there any tensions that arose behind drawing on someone else's piece of art, for example? I got a yes over there. How can you take your gift to enhance another? Was that something that you engaged with that you feel like you could do successfully? What surprises you about working in a group? I think everything for me personally. Especially, I love making music. Again, I've never been a trained musician. Probably to my benefit, because I hear a lot from my trained musician friends that they've just got too much structure and they really struggle to jam. And I'm very sensitive. So what surprises me in that space is we go on a journey. We started with a mess. This guy's playing something crazy. I don't want to I zone into this person. All of a sudden, there's a harmony. I swear it is the best feeling. For me, personally, it is the best feeling. that's pure harmony because of the mess. So that's always a surprise. And then, yeah,